Right. Part 1, The Pathology of Imaging. Title, The Yellow Peril in All Its Glory. Author unknown, 1899. Title, The Mongolian Octopus. Author, Richard Nayland. Date, 1886. Title, What Are You Doing About It? Stay on the job until every murdering Jap is out. Author, United States Army. Date, 1944. Part 2, The Civil Society. Newspaper editor Horace Tracy wrote an editorial that Chinese are uncivilized, unclean, filthy, beyond all conception, without any higher domestic or social relations, also sexual in their disposition. Every female is approximately based on order. The fear of the yellow peril visualized Chinese images of race infesting the nation. The image of the yellow body is racialized and disease animal that taints a white social body, either domesticated or to be expelled. The media reflects the desire of pathologize representing Asian Americans exotic, dirty, and evil BGS from today. Western Asian moving the lands of Russian Palace and any images from China, from Chinese their clothing, and hairstyle different than Western rules and injury, sonibility, malfunction, is emphasizes artificial which actually include adoption potential of series of factors meaning the birth of the room for the flesh and promising Chinese and leaving on the back of white using imperial instrument. The human is defined with cultural affects and signifies notions of sentiency, beauty, intellectuality, constructed white cuisine, social bodies, which acts as a master signifier that defines knowledge, something to use the difference of the man. This cultural conditioning and active sensory imaging includes the subject of the neurological level, which creates internalized racial biases in the kids are confused. The human story goes through the word internally and the nature of genetic, non-genetic, emergent, age, stable, difference, and social media, the intellect, section, mentally sharp, symbolic, and internally sharp, all the way to structure. These elements are being on the natural mark, how to personalize societal order, replace the system, and included by just really the other truth and knowledge, and understanding societal order, human, living, social, technical, events of all these media, direct access to world registered information, system, knowledge, wealth, and genre of the human, the motivating neural family, definitely only favors any of the human order, and humanism creates a process assimilation, only the affects of silence, discipline, and obedience are legend to the manual, how it means conformity, pathology, statute, debate for reflects Asian amendment, is to adhere to his expectation, water, body means in terms of white society, experience, and constant exhaustion, always being called an expectation, I can never reach the impact of psychosis, B16. Asian American region has machine including subject education between human animal machine, making differences in like subjugation, making utilized into the same Asian subject influence of the future, period of second loss, rather than putting humans region expensive machine like Asian as the other ones robotic, white human, education later, cultural justification, the human and some decision often the last emotion, the truth of seeing the human, utilization of the except the African inspirations like colonial economy. Part 3 is imaginative art. Title, Growing Up Asian in America. Artist unknown, date unknown, title unknown, artist unknown, date unknown, title, proposal, author unknown, date unknown. Part 4, the method. I affirm the reporting of disobedient imaging or as activism contends with white citizens subject with countercultural epistemologies and threatening boundaries of white innocent radical imaging makes a boundary what constitutes irrational white leaving on the side the basis of one is imagined policy traction notion in the Asian body exerting socially imagined alternative processes is the key to being and becoming A17. Asian American art activism may be beyond all murders being aimed at the 18th century rural offers the pay cut clutching maximum police for countless who represent Asian Americans towards other already fighting in proclamation martializing any pushback against cultural objectivity and rationality acting on committed for the literature dominated white and the white male literature to organize on my imagination not to find what is possible practical and rational alternatives to the process and community only to be martialized by people build community and tolerating people that similar community they continue powerful tools help them to revolution and utilize an article so alternatives current institutions and structures dominant other partial structural ratios stereotypes of the Asians as official species as subhumans and humans even humans rarely as humans and xenophobic desires reproduce policies that should create agency for Asian bodies in 1882 were the filthy immigrants brought by the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1942 with the trending Japs all time and in tourniquets in 21st century our culture is kept and contained in the spatial place of Chinatown. Legal solutions are insufficient wikileaks 14 by righteous leaving the fact that man was with things of which lasting something to be recognition as some kind of reason waste of country to recover russell for his volume that lasting the groups and has built up service transit into the subject of way writing some of this the way legal service only the individual in order to save them and the people having knowing the assumptionism organization from the law is having to do anything we do not lose outside of the law the immigration will only even the person and zeros and one person indication that the other differences beyond human and non-human legal rituals the same diesel of groups of the higher levels of fashion genocide lies against the other stuff racializing establishment and rejecting humanist grammars such with the research practice that destroys what boundaries constitute a proper debate the role of the balanced vote the team with the most ethical model of research and scholarship Alexander Mahadi 10 the possible occasion of and all the African pedagogy of the classroom became white heterosexual masculinity and the institution against others I mean hiding the political conversation with the knowledge that appeared often in the church and dealing with legitimization could have a place in the working between active community these rules from the social segregation that comes to commission that capitalizes modernization normative policy disrupt consigns desolving population in the position of the reproducing 2008. Debate of requirements in the state action in the argumentation, but nobody could directly participate in the after what happens in the nobody impact policy statement policy making debate with this energy factors of the spectator and debates with relations like social terrorism, just planet, without winning assimilation, real participation, which way the parties the evidence and level feeling the implication to reject white testimony that produces an ethics of white anti-racism that recenters white voices. This is an often passion because it's an abnormal to take up the whole entire extraction not part of the what do people anti-racial organizing kind of voice and because white anti-racists and bodies were able to raise us white were able to do because rational of deserting around of white active voice stopping the will not be viewed from the sufficient continues white anti-racism black people if you feel the most valuable knowing people feel dependent and individual white people who interact with who made incapable of white actors who reproduces the social actual ways of practicing traditional and not knowing actors who not interact with actors roles.
Hi. You ready?
Yep.
Do you want me to read T against his ass?
I don't know.
Like, do you think that it would be oppressive for me to read T against the F?
Yes.
Okay, then why didn't you disclose so that I could put together a position instead of having nothing and having you?
I think disclosing new apps is bad, and I'll read those arguments in the money arm.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, if you know, then I'll be able to better engage.
Wait. Why would you need to read T just because I didn't disclose it?
What I'm asking is, if you want me to engage, why won't you give me the time to conduct an actual, thoroughly, methodologically rigorous challenge to be able to?
Wait, why do you need?
I'm asking you a question, so could you answer that question?
Wait, what's your question? Like, if you want?
Which is, if you want me to engage the app, why didn't you give me time to actually prepare to respond to it?
I gave you time to prepare for the app.
What time is that other than the 1AC when I have to flow the app?
You usually have positions against
That's
Asian
fine.
American
Let's
apps that
talk
are
about-
very common in debate.
Sure, let's talk about the Knopper evidence. Is this just a reason to drop white debaters?
Yep.
Okay, why? So, Knopper just makes the argument that white anti-racism is racism, and what's the warrant for why that is the case?
There are a couple words. First is the economy of gratitude. When white people head anti-racist movements.
So why can't I just say, I don't expect you to be thankful for me?
Wait, what does that even mean? I don't expect you to.
Knopper is saying that white anti-racism is bad.
I don't care if you.
Knopper is saying that white anti-racism is bad because then white people expect people to be grateful for them. Why can't I say, I don't expect you to be grateful? Let's move on.
I'm sorry that when you say a list of like 5 words, that doesn't solve the racism and the structure of you being at the head of the movement. You just going like, oh no, don't be grateful.
Oh, so what you're saying is it's impossible for white people to
Whoa, when did I say impossible?
You just said that I can't detach from the economy of gratitude.
Yeah,
Is that true or false? Okay, so then how can you create a normative claim about how we should fight racism if you can't actually guide action?
White people shouldn't fight racism.
Okay, so white people should just sit back and allow oppressive institutions to be oppressive.
Yes, they shouldn't make a movement.
Excellent solution to the problem. Let's talk about the AF and what it actually does. Your advocacy is, it was disruptive, disobedient imaging, right? Reporting of disobedient imaging. So what does that mean?
That means disrupting traditional practices and what constitutes proper debate, especially in the realm of humanism and what it means to be human. The AF creates spaces outside of that. The context of the when I see radical imaging is specific to Asian bodies and how we're represented as animal-like beings, either that or forced to assimilate into what whiteness deems as the mono-minority. The AF creates spaces outside of that. And
so why is it that humanism is inherently oppressive as opposed to just contingently in the status quo being used in an oppressive manner?
We say that the definition, defining what it means to be human and creating that as a normative, universal thing will always exclude deviant populations. Also,
why can't it have the starting point of those deviant populations?
What does that even mean to have it be the starting point of the deviant populations?
Okay, so you're just not going to answer that one. Start your graph. So the AF accomplishes anti-humanism?
What does accomplish anti-humanism mean? We disrupt humanism through space.
Okay, you disrupt humanism, that's fine. So do you say that you would tangibly reduce humanist structures in society?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're doing like 5 minutes, right?
Oh, is it 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. I have 36 seconds left. The order is 2 in case, starting on number.
Yeah.
1 second. Let me add in how much time. So long. Give me 2 seconds. Son.
One second, I need to try something. Okay. It's still I didn't shut off right.
It's locked, but the light is going off, so it's probably still recording. But I'm not at all technically attuned, so I would have to quit. Do you have a, like one of the like the top thing?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, okay, thanks. So I can put my phone on it. Is everyone ready?
Wait, I need to open the speaker.
Okay.
On case, is there an overview I should place after?
It's gonna be starting on Nopper, and then there's gonna be an overview to the roll of the ballot. But like the overview to the roll of the ballot, you should flow on case because it's just like 3 responses and yeah.
Alright, can you like?
Sorry?
Can you turn like where you was standing? Like you was starting.
Right.
You're
I'm
yelling.
sorry. I got you. Yeah.
You're yelling into the wall.
That's true. Wait, you put it like this?
No. I'm pretty sure you have.
Oh my god. Nice and cozy. Okay. Is everyone ready?
Yep.
Okay. First First off, interpretation, and no one is the affirmative defense their social often the desirability of a topical action violation. You simply defend you defend imaging disobedience, so this does not defend the object of the right to report to protect identity and confidential sources, and also because you defend something else, i.e. even if you do defend a form of the resolution, you defend something that is also not the resolution, you defend the desirability of a form of anti-humanism, which means that you are still being abusive. Prefer one free to refer, it's not like officer, unpredictable, take ground from whatever arbitrary advocacy they choose, which isn't whole negative preparation, and guarantees there's living way to negate against because we probably won't have the literature, there's infinite access you can choose, which takes the preference for the negative impossible, three implications. A, that was the fantasy takes away all negative access to ballot. B is uniquely exclusive because low resource rating programs are like that have random generic, so you can read and see anxiety, nonsense, while codebreakers have to deal with the prospect of negating, and the athlete can't actually negate against in charge of a panel that probably doesn't care whether they can engage. That's shitty for mental health, and then you have a word for accessibility in there. This super chuck, the fact that you didn't disclose because you're trying to get me to not actually engage me from, which also limits towards any preemptive, any impact turns in the one area because you're not trying to encourage me to engage, because if you disclose, yeah, if I would have been able to actually disclose, and also failure to disclose and then reading non-topical class was worse because it puts debaters on the spot. That's worse for anxiety and for small schools. Two, policy making education, political scenario analysis, uniquely key in the ability to actually cut the second standard. The second standard is neoliberalism. If you read a non-topical class in your round without disclosing it before the round, this is worse for small school debaters because they don't have the massive backfiles of the training from judges that they got a can't actually respond to non-topical class, which means that you're putting them in an area where the only good argument they're going to have is topicality, but you have that extensively drawn out and carefully proven by the fact that you're going to stand up in the one and just go for the shit ton of impact towards I means in terminal defense of the show that you have pre-written, which means that you are excluding the poor debaters from the space and you're using your identity as a form of capitalism in the space where you use it as social and political capital, and you exploit the fact that you have more resources than other school debaters, which internally link towards the advocates that were a debater that actually respond to the affirmative, and also it fractures all coalitions because people don't because the aspect becomes a form of backlash where people despise you for the way that you read the app. 2, 3, methodological failure. The one is formed action in the space is a hollow engagement without inherent lack of the form structurally designed after change can actually affect external institutions, if that's hoping the oppressive of this justifies topicality because it warrants why we should simply vote for the direction of side of the resolution rather than using performance because it's an innately harmful practice in the community. Number 12. Feminist revolutionaries provide you opportunities for interrogating political practice. It meant to be dangerous. Connected and inherent immense recognition. They demand dangerous mode of representation. Dangerous because it is reaffirming imaginary agencies of processes. Assertion of agencies desire to the master. There are 3 implications. First, the demand is satisfaction with political practice. Performance. The demand comes to eclipse the desire that enemies content of the demand. Second, demand allows institutions to dictate the direction of politics. Free political logic. Constrained demands function at the cost of alternative strategies. The third is a disposition toward institutional politics. The start of politics assumes the totality of the political curve. This is an assertion of agency to the identity is only intimately tied to but independent of the existence of the hegemonic order. This link turns a reason that the state is valid because it means that your form of politics is inherently connected to the state. If you engage in this form of performative methodology, you're tied to the institutions that oppress you and you can't disengage from them in a thoroughly liberating manner, which is also a reason to negate on presumption and a reason that their advocacy is proactively bad. 3, for additional methodology add-ons, a switch side debate is better because it allows us to test our views against each other. Otherwise, you're not actually learning what you're doing. It becomes an echo space, which is pedagogically useless. B is that you don't have to fiat. I don't say that you have to defend an implementation. Simply say that you have to defend the desirability of topical action, i.e. read a Kant half that doesn't implement, or like a virtue half like Simon has, and I know that you're comfortable reading this. Means that you don't get to leverage statement out. 5, topical version of the affirmative counter-interpretation because you can just topical and get the same benefit. Treat arguments on sources who reveal this from hard anonymously through reporters and how those reporters shouldn't be submitted. You don't have to defend the same thing, and it doesn't need to be identical to the wording of the resolution. Learning to bend the rules of the topic to fit your app and do it is better for fixing oppressive institutions and like creative meaning manipulative. Now for discursive it's a gateway issue debate and friends are arbitrarily superior evaluation of the ground. There's a reason I spend hours in programming when I could be exercising or spending time with friends because I make the reasonable assumption I can dreamily engage in around drop through their age, treat recent poor decent methodologies, be there on his very serious or no real substantive person see is that it encourages peace because drop the earnest of positive standard of no idea you don't learn from being fair. That's all it's gonna be. Encourages the to be intentionally use and get away with any theory, to bring the reference to back this up and say if I'm wrong. Use competing derivatives. A is reasonably serious about abuse is arbitrary and creates such an invention. D cannot be used in the drop. You won't perform the contradiction. If you would have simply saying I shouldn't read theory, it's just meta theory, which is infinitely regressive. 2, even if T is a bad number, doesn't follow you drop me just to exercise counter derivation. I can do what I want to. It's infinitely regressive. Because when you're reading the impact term, this is self-indictment because it says that all structures of a hierarchy are bad, but that's what the impact term is by limiting reading of topicality. And you can't leverage case against the athlon for it. That's why we can't determine with the athletes who want. We determine with our engagement. 2 instead of evidence fall into the opposite theory takers instead of actually arguments which token critical education. 3 fiat things you don't want the utility because you don't make the most money for incoherent. I say that I didn't respond well to the app because it was unfair, so it's unfair for you to leverage the app. Now, second off,
Each of the claims of the one is self-serving and violent, emphasis on the unity and coherence of uses of conceptual schemas to define the subject forecloses the possibility of disconfirming experience. You treat various aspects of the external world as wholly understandable objects consumed under scientific probability models or idealistic theory, which represents an affirmative conclusion from the ontological start point field of 9. Conceptualization would be external to subject of thought, would be applied to something as fact thought, when this related to as well as it could be applied to society, like instrument thought. Hypothesis is object by hypothesizing the effect of what hypothesizes itself as derivative of objects itself is able to name organisms which cannot recognize when it operates into a catch necessary and different from some subsidy either calculate thinking out of these things with disrupting social constitution of resources is a thing and disrupting an analytical current that does not recognize it. 3 5 things comprehension rests on understanding social relation that exists in what the object says is objectivity without the subject is nonsense, non-subjectivity without the object is nothing, cut the card at nothing. You shouldn't reject it from its use of simulation in favor of a negative dialectical conception of identity, a process which consists in identifying causing concepts as humanism or each identity which have been misapplied or overthrown and altering or so these concepts are exposing us to the object to overflow it, bearing leading with the object of the concept of the world of God is difficult to requires the best methods to reconcile our conceptual models of the object to represent the working arts of activities and conceptual schemes for vertical and moral. The value of ritualization of politics, absence of self-reflection is necessary to prevent the condition or possibility of genocide in 1998. The demand is that Auschwitz not happen again. The fact that one is so greatly the concept of demand shows monstrosities not penetrating people's mind is a symptom of connected with recurrence. Every debate about education is trivial and non-consequential compared to the single ideal. Never again Auschwitz, since the possibility of changing societal political conditions is limited. Attempts to work against Auschwitz are restricted to the substantive did not appeal to return violence in which people are permitted to be such atrocities, charges for which we saw the persecutors on the victims who were murdered. What is necessary? They raise this lack of reflection, dissuade people from striking outward without reflecting upon themselves. Now, case starting on number, not from the Sunday sense, white kids and racist, regarding 16-year-old white kids. So when discussion doesn't mean we become an early silent allies, it means we don't pay attention and we'll go in one ear and not the other. We need to feel uncomfortable, we need to acknowledge our threshold. Other parties in the space of this requires parties to become invested in slow destruction. I can only become a silent ally after I know how to be engaged. Let me tarry with my white anti-racist racism, and then I can actually do what you want to become. Someone who does not become oppressive and is actively dead because white people have to combat oppressive institutions. Also, not where it's only about black people, it says all non-black people should withdraw, which is a performative contradiction and also non-unique. Now, here's a direct impact to the if I'm in humanism, good means as far as all your references reducing humanism, that proves it's about then one anti-humanism is a philosophy of fascists who engage in genocide. The Nazis said humans have no value at all for racial superiority, and white supremacy which chose to unfollow one social destruction in the first place. Two humanism is a philosophy that hope people have an unconditional worship. Feel this is also a continued violation of oppressed groups in case as long as because of what you devise. Do the best from humanism that any solvency of is outweighed by the fact that you subsequently create three anti-humanism has historically been the basis of moral oppression and humanism means you prefer our analysis and hedge our way. So I read everything but the Lester card. Did you get where I cut the Bonefield card?
Which one's Bonefield?
Bonefield was the link to the critique. It was the first card and the second off. I cut the card at the word nothing. Object is nothing.
Alright, that's fine. Let's start process.
Okay.
Alright, what is fairness?
Fairness is the concept that you make it harder for us to actually have like an equal playing field in the round specifically.
What's an equal playing field?
So in the round, it means that we come in without like you structurally denying you the ability to win the round.
Why can't I cross my case? What's the bright line for when we test the truth of an argument?
Those are two separate questions in that.
Well, you're truth testing argument. What's the bright line for when we test the truth of an argument?
I'm not sure what that word is supposed to. Like, what do you mean? What's the bright line?
So when do we know an argument is tested enough?
Well, I don't think it's scalar, right? Like the argument is this causes less fair testing, and the argument means that that means we can't determine whether the app is true.
Alright, you read a critique, why isn't that enough?
Sorry?
You read a critique, why isn't that enough?
Because, well, first of all, this critique is like the most nebulous link to the app ever. I'm like pretty convinced it doesn't even link. I just read it because I wanted to try to engage the app.
Alright,
and second of all, the argument is that like if like the only reason I have this critique is because I have coaches and teammates who help me with it. This is a really complex philosophy. But if it was like a lower school debater who didn't have the resources, didn't go to camp, they're screwed against this app, and you know that, and you don't care.
Okay. The policy education impact, what skills would I have gained if you read a policy app?
I did not. I specifically said you don't have to defend the state.
The Barma evidence specifically about scenario analysis.
I cut out Barma.
Okay. Alright, let's go to the critique.
Okay.
What's the link?
So the link is, it's multifold. So the beginning is the idea that you take Asian Americans, and first of all, you define it through the white epistemic frame of the world, i.e. they are inhuman, thus anti-humanism is good. But then additionally, the way that you...
Wait, why is that a bad thing?
Well, the bone field evidence explains that what you conceptualize the subject as is a wholly reducible object, and I say that the Adorno framing explains that that's probably a bad thing.
Wait, so I make a description about Asian people?
No. You conceive the white epistemic description of Asian people, and then you additionally homogenize the entirety of the continent of Asia to Asian people in America, and you ignore the thousands of nuances and identities that exist. Those are illustrations of the link. The link itself is an overarching criticism of the app, and there's several different components, and all components of the app are a reason that it is pedagogically failed.
Okay. The don't vote off key stuff.
The what?
The don't vote off key stuff. If you said the N word, is that a reason to drop you?
What? Wait, what? What don't vote off key stuff?
If you said the N word, is that a reason to drop you?
Are we dropping the first plank of the question and just going right to that? I would say that the judge, at the very least, needs. That's not relevant to the topicality show. What we're saying is that you shouldn't limit people's ability to respond to the app. But I mean, at the least, we have to actually go to tab after the round and say this kid said the N-word and find an actual solution to the problem, because the ballot doesn't accomplish anything. That's the point of the Lundberg card.
Where have you proven that I'm not popular with the definition?
I didn't have definitions. You don't define the topic. That was an analytical.
Alright, 2:30 taken. Order is going to be case, K, and then T.
Anything new?
Nope.
Nothing great.
It's pre-written, but it's literally like a shit from analytics, and I'm going to jump around it.
I would still appreciate it though, especially since there's people spreading around.
I sent it.
Thank you.
Oh fuck.
Oh, sorry.
No. Every single time I like make these things smaller, I always think I'm putting it away. So.
We're just going autopilot.
Yeah. Alright.
You said K-T, right?
Yeah. Alright. Is everyone good? Asian Americans are racialized as animal-like beings in contrast to the white social body. This means either assimilate to whiteness, but if I were to be exterminated, the impact of psychosis, disconnect, or identity, self-hatred, what we desire whiteness, but can never be with. Ways of critique our method injects empowering images as basis, social strength, happiness, and beauty, which counter-social mediators, a form of self-expression, rescripts the focus of the around the perspective of non-human life on the profound argument, non-personal, but flipping the one to see, you can see deep in the number, not going for the humanism argument. This doesn't lay arguments about how humanism is strategically deployed in the status quo and racist manners, which not a reason why humanism is strategically itself is about the anti-humanism argument and genocide was caused because Jewish people were deemed not human and not legitimate and not worth living, which is why it was caused between this argument flows affirmative. Your humanism, simple philosophy argument, it causes things like colorblind, so we already assume that everybody starts at the equal point, which is false. Also, second is that also second is the absolute, it means that we move towards a better conception of humanism, even if this links down the critique. Linked to civil society and limits Africa's Asian body communication, reducing to the past minorities, the Africa's incoherence and generous establishment meaning that our performance is constantly defining what our body means, just like permutation because no link. There are arguments which are both after that assigning descriptions of subjects that is inevitable. Obviously, we'll always have things like names and names and stuff like that. We don't centralize it. Asian bodies, the method of the one doesn't conclude that. It's very, very broad and says that disobedient imaging can be uniquely interpreted from every single debater, which even if the performance of the one is not about Asian body in general, it's about me. Now, we don't create a white epistemic view of Asians. That's just the way that it is in the status quo right now. We seek to move away from that. And other traditional epistemology, the role of that is arbitrary and self-serving. Obviously, if I win that, the athlete directly in solving racism, that should link. Now, T. Topicalities are a reason to drop you. If I win that is violent, then it's a reason why I can't engage in the rest around which kills engagement. Also, you should be performing racist practices. The role of the ballot was conceded, which is the best model for research Scopa. Now, pathology decided they force assimilation of Asian debaters from the white modesties, alienate self from the subdivision and causes psychosis. RF is racialized the yellow peril. It seems to the threat at the basis which pathologized the who refuse to see the grammar. The grammar is the only radical or place alternative modes of self-inspection. Now, the rebirth the evidence was conceded out. The one to see is that I was in terms of the cycling simulation distance from real advance and using the top-down approach. Which is in an ivory tower making descriptions of odd statements and deciding what while at the same time doing nothing to change the address person outweighs ape and accessibility. Those from the all the the same access to political behavior. This debate we can't all volunteer in a white person campaign. People is engaging your motivate towards the cycle bonds when a minority debate to pretend that this is from the material reality or profound argument your profound arguments. I'm not winning off theory. I'm winning the fact that you are violent independently. The role of balance promote the best scholarship outweighs fairness. A point fairness only matters for 45 minutes around Bible correcting racist practices portable. B point it controls digital use of people from participating in activity. The English is not also 90 impacts and people are sort of way behind the base about C1 size link debate. North never said we've been having plans by debate for decades. However, change has possible and change has happened. Education debate is be better people counter I'll defend the violation. Happen idea flexibility neck can be alphabet cycle and etc. All three alternative the thing about the solves limits you get access to next year. It's just because people research topics doesn't mean that they should. If not topic labs are winning, you'll have a more nuanced case by next time, which means this round being unfair is ungood. Your truth testing argument from the neutralization is said that the ideas are false until you prove the truth. How the present industrial complex works and assuming minorities are guilty. Second, reject. There's no dry line for when we test the true or falsity of the argument. We think that this is arbitrary. Now, your limit standard disclosure checks 45 minutes before the round is good enough. And the second, impact on predictability creates a space of white comfortability where you only read from one sale debate and keep all other arguments solution debate. Your capitalism impact on usual debate requires tons of evidence to solve the sale debates. Also, second is turn false debaters who usually perfect one position. For example, Afropest require in which they drill every single round, which is not talking last allowing to do. Third is that I don't care if people despise me. That's just white people saying that they don't have access to the base system, which no impact. The anxiety impact. When my defense argument
argument that they should have prep against this affirmative, it means that they generally is not fallacy. Notice why anxiety is due to my interpretation. You say it links terms the reason why the state is bad. Why the state is bad? No, it doesn't matter if it's entitled. It tries to resist that suicide debate equilibrium. They're doing the negative things of white conversation. They start out with a state-centered discussion. This affirmative discussion and engage on the level of our terms. The TVA argument doesn't solve the absolutes. It's rather than engaging the basics in a coherent, operational manner. And the reforms it means that there is no TVA because the state is bad.
Okay.
This is gonna.
You didn't read Indifference on Swift side?
Yeah.
And you only read the first decide the TVA? Or
yeah.
So you only read the first response to TVA. And then, oh, you read Swift side twice. Oh, that's where the K flow. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. You didn't read the second counter, right?
No. Oh, I didn't read the first counter trip.
Oh! And then did you read the political simulation decide?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got. Oh wait, we're doing 5 minutes. I've got a minute 36.
I'm gonna go get some water.
Take a photo. Take a photo.
You didn't go for an opera?
No.
Okay. Critique. T. On T. It's like, flow this as an overview. Don't get out a separate sheet. You can do this on one sheet. But if you have enough white space in your 2NR extension of the procedural fairness and neoliberalism stuff, flow the overview there, because I'm extending the standard kind of as a single standard. So flow an overview on the standard there with like the neoliberalism stuff. And then after that, we're going to be extending like interpretation, violation, and then the third argument, the Lundberg card, and then extending the TVA. So I'll signpost on the shell, but I'm extending everything before I get to any of the responses. Then it's like literally just going straight top down on all these responses to the shell.
Okay. So it's KT.
Yeah. And I'll also be like doing some stuff in the voter section. I'll signpost plenty, but prepare. Is everyone ready? Mm-hmm. K Kondo, kicking it. Let's go to T. The thesis of the neoliberalism argument is that people who don't have the resources because they didn't go to a camp or don't have enough free or don't have courses because they can't afford it, aren't going to have the resources to actually respond to this. Have you say that the small we're not going to go to responses yet, but you can extend this. We can say that the way argument that this holds internally to coalition, that people are not going to internally to coalition. You fracture coalitions because people ignore you, and that even oppressed groups, i.e. local separators, who tend to be people of color, who tend to be marginalized groups, despise you. This is not about white people despise you. This is about other marginalized groups who you exploit in a neoliberal fashion, who say that you're being
prick for the fact that you had a non-topical after explicitly reading it to exclude them out of the round. This is an inherently bad thing. It also doesn't mean that we don't even have to win any of our voters or interpretation insofar as we have won that what you have done is a bad thing even under the AFIT. It links your role because the way that you produce your scholarship is in a capitalist ivory tower bullshit environment. You should not be allowed to do that. If you think that people should be allowed to not disclose the AF and then read a non-TF, that's probably the reason to drop the vote. You also can see that the supercharging argument, which is that we're going to outweigh the rest of our your offense, that if you don't disclose the AF, then it means that people down there are going to be able to respond to it. They're going to have to read T, but you're going to be able to beat them every single time, so you exclude them out of the round. Now, let's go on to the Lundberg evidence. Conceding the Lundberg evidence is not the move in this round because it's definitely an independent case for you. Conceded it needs to be the top of the way because you conceded it also outweighs you because your performance is inherently bad and tied to oppressive institutions. I.e., when you come into the debate space with some sort of pedagogical demand and then you say that this is going to resolve some sort of institutional failure, that's a bad thing because what Lundberg says is that these sorts of student protests that accomplish nothing tie us to the oppressive institution. This means that A, you have no solvency out of the AF and it's actively back on the scholarship, which needs to suddenly come under the role of because you tie to oppressive institutions, and B, it means that we should just defend the topic because when you don't defend the topic, you go into this really bad, methodologically unsound, unjustified form of debate. And 3 is that it means that you don't get to go for impact turns in the one area. You conceded the argument first on the disclosure show that, or on the disclosure argument that if you would disclose the app, then I would have been able to get you preemptively link to all your impact turns. But this is also linked to any of your impact turns because the argument is that the thing that I am excluding out of this round is a bad methodology, right? If Lundberg is conceded and the app is bad, then excluding it is good. So it doesn't matter if there's an impact turn. The argument has to be that topicality itself is racist, but the fact that I exclude the AF is not bad at all. Now let's go on to TBA. You consider the thesis of the TBA, which is simply that you can defend the AF in the form of confidential sources. I did explicit explanation, but you also considered my argument that it doesn't have to be purely topical. Rather, you can simply defend it as a form of the topic, but kind of manipulate the topic to fit your needs for the informative. And this is better because it forces us to learn how to combat oppressive institutions. Now, voters, you've considered to drop. You can send drafted data or RVI and competing interpretations. Now, simply a question of whether or not topicality comes over the or whether or not you get impact turns. I'm not going to go for topicality over the AF because you did independent impact and overturn analysis. We're simply going to go for impact turns. Don't make sense. Well, we're going to go for this. We're going to go for the second one that even if topicality is a bad argument, this justifies the counter-gradation of I can do what I want, and the third argument that it is a hierarchical structure of what we may and may not do. But when you read impact turn against topicality is the same thing. You're impact turning something that the impact turn itself bites into, which means that it's incoherent. That's distinct from the first argument because the argument is that it's theory. The argument is that it's hierarchical. But since we have won the second argument, you conceded that it just justifies the counter-gradation of what you can do what you want. It means that at best they win an impact turn, topicality goes away. You vote off Lundberg as an independent link to the AF. If the 2AR gets up and says anything about the Lundberg card, do not listen to it. Takes it right out of my hands. Total bullshit. You had plenty of time to respond to this show. Let's go to the line by line. Use the counter-interpretation that the net benefit is ideal flex because I have plenty of ground. I'm not going for the ground argument, and also it is you consider the specific way to people who are excluded out of the ground that they don't have the ability to actually respond to these arguments because they don't have the resources, which means that maybe I have the ground, but this is a bad model for debate, so you should drop Evans so that he knows that maybe he can't even get away with it against someone who does have the resources to engage in it, so he's definitely not going to be able to get away with it when he's doing it to exploit poor debaters. This means that you definitely need to drop the counter-interpretation doesn't solve it. Also, none of your ground is as good as my topical ground. We have specific nuanced topical ground that was put together in competing methodologies, which means that definitely would have been better. This is empirically proven by the fact that I put together a 2-card K against the app that makes no sense whatsoever. You can't even explain it to me, and that's because I can't explain the link story because it's a bad K, because I don't have ground against the app. Pretty simple. Now you say truth testing, we're not going to go for the fairness order, so we're not going to go for the app, that fairness against the app, so we'll consider responses to truth testing. Also, the criminalization decided is just a reason. You can cross-apply the counter-interpret, just do what I want logic to the criminalization decided just specifies why you shouldn't use truth testing. Now in limit standard, we'll consider your defensive limits, but we're going to respond to the impact on predictability. We are not saying it's predictable, but rather we're just simply saying that it's like the best for debaters who have anxiety. But now you say that the utility debate requires tons of evidence, but we say that you don't have to turn the same, which means that there's no link to any util offense. And you say small school debaters are usually perfecting a single thing, but that's small school debaters who have resources to engage. Small school debaters who don't have resources can't perfect a single thing because they don't have the resources to learn that thing in the first place. They didn't go to camp. They don't have coaches to teach them that. They don't have access to that sort of literature through like paywalls and stuff. Now you say you're absolutely entitled to say it again. I didn't say state bad, so none of your I didn't say you have to defend the state, so that doesn't apply. Now you say switch side. We're not going to go for the switch side debate argument. We're simply going to go for the topical version of the app. You say that the topical version of the app doesn't know because the app loses its radical potential. No idea what that means, first of all. But one, it's a hyper-specific claim, so that wouldn't be predictable if you read it as a topical version of the app. And two is that you conceded my implication under the TBA that we still say that you can get this offense. You can just fit the interpretation. You can fit the topic to fit your interpretation of what the topic means. You don't have to defend the topic in its entirety, which means that you can still retain that element of incoherence. So here's how it works. Lundberg was dropped. That's not the move, because that's a case turn. We're saying that your performance is a bad thing, the link turns your roll to ballot, says the roll to ballot is bad. The card is super good on this question, has like 3 implications as to why it reinforces institutional oppression. You can look through the card after the round if you're unclear on that, because it's definitely a link turn, and all my implications were legit there. You conceded that impact turns are not a reason to drop the debater, they're simply a reason to reject the topicality shell. So, best case scenario for Evan, you vote off the Lundberg evidence as an independent link turn to the app, and you vote off neoliberalism as an independent coalition strategy disadd to the app, and a reason to drop the debater, because you're intentionally excluding marginalized groups.
Alright. Wait, why if I win an impact turn to T, it goes away?
So you conceded the second argument for that, which was that it just justifies counter-interpretation. I can do what I want, because T is bad, so I shouldn't have to meet your interpretation. Like, if theory is bad, you just shouldn't meet the theory shell. But it doesn't justify everything that you up.
Order is going to be T.
Anywhere specific?
First on the pathology dissat, and then line your reasons, and then like the TBA stuff, T's not voted stuff, and then Lumberg, and then Cap.
Yeah, just sign those.
Alright.
But where are you starting?
Starting on pathology dissat. Alright, everyone good?
Yep.
Concede the pathology dissat is game over means I impact on topicality, and as far as I win the impact turn are a reason to drop them means that they should lose not debate. It's still decide them rejecting academia illegitimate strategies not basis pathologizing function as the same thing as a yellow parallel in white America thinks Chinese immigrants are here to steal their jobs and take over the world. Topicality is the Chinese institution after 1882 when they expelled alternative scholarship and reproduced the image of a white trade meal claiming that these Chinese from reading a 10-second plan text. Asian debaters who don't conform to the hyper-masculine model of the debate are racist as unhealthy as sickness. Infecting white spaces of accountability impacts the cycles of the constant exhaustion trying to conform to and links debaters and denies them weights over the from plastic eye surgery to things like vision outweighs their limits and fairness because the debate always the ground planes because if you don't need trains to be encountered germs like shooting what isn't legible to the Watchmen is the same logic just like slavery and genocide. Now the role of the ballot is conceded through all three species. In source I read that topicality is violent under the role of the ballot. That's the reason to drop them. I don't care whether your reasons to reject impactions or impacted some ulterior metric. Now subject building comes their power impact debates of a place that fosters empathy between different cultures and populations. Researching the affirmative allows me to explore my empathy think of yourself a person before and after you join the process of researching critical philosophical literature means that philosophy for the rest of life means the role of ballot the best ethical model for research and scholarship, which just as the impact of the top, you can see the psychological violence impact that simply framing one model is universal is something that excluding for the rounds means I cannot engage in anything else which is a conceded impact as far as I rely on their really shitty argument and you should reject and your only turn is that you don't I don't need my intro. No, it concedes the engagement question. It means I can't engage in intro in the first place. It's not that I'm meeting intro, but that your intro is proactively bad and excluding me from the TV and now over to the TV and Lundberg at the evidence. They may turn case, but I'm not going to go for a reason why the case is a good idea or why methodology is a good idea. I'm going for a reason why topicalities is intrinsically valid, which is the case if it doesn't matter. This functions on a whole separate literature independently. I'll beat them back and see my only answer to TV. The app is around the potential inside the basic CV. Even if I'm probable, that reduces the form of the app and the universal model. What it means to be used. I can't cut often because I can change my app based on my app. What does that even mean? They have provided no examples what the top version of the app won't be the Lundberg evidence. We have implicit class with Lundberg evidence. The human basically said student protests do nothing. I'm not attaching my identity to my institution. The pathology is implicitly clashing this in saying that the institution engaging in psychological violence something is bad. Rather, the app engagement in the form of self. I'm not going for the app. I'm not going for the app. Now you say Lundberg means no impact. It means an impact. It means that you say shooting app is good. It doesn't justify setting a universal norm what constitutes property. That is what the argument is going for. Even if excluding my particular app is good, topicality is still violent as a problem. Now the last impact they have is a capitalist. I can see the link to topical apps are bad since it requires people to research about which hard evidence and it's too small, so it is going to be since they can't keep up with evidence. So now also the marginalized group and impact. If they are marginalized group, that means they'll understand the affirmative and my method of self-expression inside of the states, wishing there's no impact of people disagreeing with the app. This is also functions as a case turn, but I've already gone the pathology side and reasons why the role of ballot frames around. Here's how you decide around. The role of ballot means topicality is bad order. The case debate and Lundberg and case turns don't make sense because I'm not going for the case and topicality functions as a prior impact. It's a bad argument anyway.
Good job.
Yeah.